Welcome to growthtofreedom.com, the show that brings you inspiration, transformation, and leadership. We're helping you connect the dots, see the blind spots, and get unstuck so you can go out and generate more leads, more sales, more profits. More importantly, so you can go out and have a bigger reach, a bigger impact, and make a bigger contribution.
Hey, welcome to the show. In this segment, I have a quick question. Have you ever maybe felt like you worked in a company, or maybe like you're into sports or your kids or, the people that you're around, like that, the idea that winning isn't everything. It's the only thing, right? This whole idea of win, conquer the world, right? And what's amazing is as you look at it, all of us, whether we're a parent or we're a coach, or whether we run a business, at the end of the day, we're all at certain levels. We're coaches in our family, right? As a male, I'm the king of a kingdom, right? You might be a king or queen of your kingdom. So regardless of what it is, as a parent, whether you're running a business or what have you, or your family, right? There's a certain model for coaching. And here's the thing, have you or I really been trained in how to guide, mentor, coach, facilitate greatness and winning? And, what stimulated this conversation today, and by the way, welcome to our show. My name's Dan Kuschell. I'm the founder of our company, Breakthrough 3X, which sponsors this show. And, I've been very fortunate over the last 30 years to run a multitude of businesses, help coach over 5,000 CEOs and founders. It's been amazing. We work with clients in over 180 industries from 13 countries, and it's a lot of fun. However, it hasn't always been that way. Truthfully, my early years they were rugged. I don't know if you've ever had like thin years, but man, alive. I was on the verge of bankruptcy and a whole lot of other nonsense and craziness as I ran essentially my first few companies into the ground. And then since that time, I've had a string of decent results, which has been amazing, including selling 2 businesses that were 8-figure type businesses. And why this is, why we're doing this topic today is I'm taking some college classes right now. And one of the college classes is the principles of coaching. And, some of the articles I've been reading and some of the new research and data is fascinating. And there's essentially 3 main coaching mentoring styles, right? We could look at these as parenting styles, right? You may or may not know that also over the last 5 years, I've also been a football coach here in Arizona, which in the high school ranks is kind of like a full-time thing, right? If you have a son or a daughter in sports in any state across the country or in any country in the world, man, make sure you throw a gesture of gratitude out to those coaches who are investing in your kids' future development. Ideally, they will be applying some of the principles we're talking about today. But did you know there's actually essentially 3 main coaching styles? So number 1, the coaching style that's most prevalent out there is what's called the command style of coaching, right? It's like it's their way. They know what they're doing. It's my way or the highway. The second type of coaching is, we'll call it the babysitter, right? They're to a degree, they let the kids run the program. They let them decide everything in the program. And then the third is what would be called a cooperative style of coaching overall. I know, by the way, we all go in and out of these different things. So as you're a parent, maybe think about your style of parenting, mentoring, coaching your kids, right? If you're running a company, what is your style of the 3, right? And or how often are you in each of those 3 phases? Because here's something fascinating to think about. Most coaches, most CEOs, most parents likely model the behavior that they had seen before, don't they? Right? So for example, right, most people who are parents of kids likely model the behavior of what they learned from their parents, or they're the complete opposite of what they learned from their parents, right? Maybe for good reason, right? With certain traumas and different things like that. On the other hand, as a coach, if you're, a sports coach, you may, and you came from a sports upbringing or sports background, you probably model the coaching that you had along the way, right? And you model that behavior. So here's the thing, businesses change, and or a parent. All right, so we covered parent, we covered coaching, and as a CEO, well, here's the thing. Most CEOs never really had any kind of formal training on how to mentor, to lead, to coach. And those are unique skill sets. So I hope this will serve you, whatever realm you want to play in, whether it's running your business, whether it's being a better, an even better parent, or it's also maybe you're coaching a sports team. But these are the three main coaching platforms. And by the way, this comes from an article from Martens. You can go look it up on Google, as well. So my question to you right now is, what is your predominant style? What is your predominant style? Now, I'm going to shift this to a sports conversation for a second, but all of this applies in running your businesses too. When I got out of college, I started my first business, and I was also coaching a summer high school all-star team. A summer college all-star team in baseball. And it was fascinating. And at that time, I was just this young kid. I was like 20 some years old, right? And so, and I had these kids who were basically between 18 and 21. So I had a command style of coaching. I can promise you that. If you ask any of those athletes, I had the predominant style was command, and then I had the cooperative stuff, right? Because communication is really critical, right? Today, the style, now coaching the last 5 years with our young athletes and then also in high school, I've evolved, if you will, as more cooperative, right? And cooperative means being more Socratic, asking questions, and things like that. And also, you have to blend these, right? So I would say that my blended preference today is cooperative with a bit of command. Why? Because as the leader of your business, as the leader of your team, as the leader of your family, you've got to set a course correction. You've got to have a compass of where you're going. So the first step actually is a step before the step of coaching and mentoring and guiding, right? Or parenting. And what is that step? It's getting clarity on where are you going? What is our objective? And, what I find in a lot of, teams or a lot of businesses and, or, even at home is do we even know where we're going? What is the outcome of our family? Right? Have you thought about that? Have you sat down? I just went through a bunch of planning, and I don't have it sitting here right now, but I do planning multiple times a year, and I break it up into three things. One is family and personal. The second is for the business. And number three is for our clients and helping them get to a certain place, right? So that takes a lot of extra work for sure, and a lot of extra preparation. However, where are we going? We've got to chart a path. And then what are the supporting pieces that go along with this? And the best way that I can demonstrate this, I think, is sharing with you an example of one of the tools I created. And I have a bunch of these that I've created for our teams that we coach, right? But in addition, I built this for our business too. If you're onboarding a team, I don't know if you've ever struggled hiring, but I've had over, it's probably close to 2,000 employees, contractors, et cetera, work in all of our different companies that I run myself, and then also helping our clients, right, help them hire and all these sorts of things. So the ripple effect is pretty significant, but we have some similar tools that we've built. But again, thinking of the first step before the step of being a mentor, being a coach, being a guide, et cetera, is where are you going? So how do you set the path? So for example, in this, in our West Valley Saints football program, this is from a few years back, by the way, and this has been updated for the high school, but there's a letter to the parents. And what is that letter to the parents? Is kind of alluding to our philosophy of how we're going to run our team. What if you did this for your business? On top of that, it's a letter to the players who are going to be on the team to let them know, where are we going, right? What is the philosophy? But we don't stop there. In fact, we actually break down what is our philosophy and break down what are we really going for here. And then on top of that, a vision. So my question to you is, are you clear on your philosophy as a human being? Number one, let's call it your family, that you articulate that with your spouse. Ideally, you're on the same page, equally yoked, and your kids, right? And then have a vision of where do you want to take this family? Call it legacy, call it our family future, our future family. Where are we going? Right? To pass it forward to other generations, right? To leave it, in better hands than before we got to it. So what is your vision for your team at this time, right? And a vision can be, a high level vision of, and a vision can be a high level version of where you're going today, but also where you're going over the next 5 years-ish, 3 years, 1 year, what have you. And also it can be iterated and updated as you evolve as a human being. So just because you cast a vision forward doesn't mean it's set in stone. It's just the vision of where you want to go, and it can be adjusted, right? On top of that, what about core values, right? Are you clear as a family unit, what are your core values? Are you clear if you're a coach in sports? Are you clear on the core values to run your organization? Are you clear as a business on what are your core values? And also, is your team clear on that? And then lastly, is your leadership style? Have you narrowed down what is your leadership style? Now, my question to you is what would happen for you if you laid out your company blueprint like we did for a sports team? This sports team, if I recall this, and I could be off a little bit. And I could be off just a little bit on this because of different age groups I've coached over the years. But this particular playbook, I believe, was for a 12 and under. So it was 10, 11, and 12-year-olds and their families laying this out. But how could you apply this in your family unit? How could you apply this in your business? How much easier would it be if you onboarded a virtual contractor and you gave them this roadmap, a blueprint of what they are contributing to, right? We've had many contractors that have worked with us and said, I've never felt so included in a company like I feel with you, right? And let's face it, today's evolution of business is more and more contractors are part of business. It's just almost a byproduct of doing business today, as well as your employees. How much greater confidence, clarity, focus, direction would they have if you gave them these key things? So again, I just want to state, the value of putting together your family playbook, your sports playbook, if you're a sports coach, and or your playbook for your business if you're running one, right? And so, again, let me just reiterate some of the key ingredients. Writing a letter to the players on your team that, outlining where are we going, and it's an introduction essentially to your philosophy, your exact philosophy on your style of coaching, mentoring, working with your team. Next is the vision for the business and or your company or your team or your family, your core values. Now, here's something I would encourage you to think about with your core values. I would not recommend having more than, say, 3 to 5 main core values. Number one, if it's beyond 3 to 5, it's going to be virtually impossible for your team to remember. It's going to be virtually impossible for them to own those. And that's what you want. You want to build a large team, right? If you look at the military, part of the reason the military is so strong, they have a strong set of a handful of core values, and they can live into those. Well, what can you do to live into your core values? But more importantly, how can you replicate? How can you duplicate? How can you set the stage so that your team can live and replicate the values for you on your behalf, which is what this is all about. You think about this from a family point of view, your kids, right? Next is, what is your personal leadership style so that people have clarity on who you are? Here's what I know about me. I can be a kind of a hard butt. If you ask my wife, right? Or you ask my kids, like, what's a trait of your dad's like leadership style? They would tell you, I'm very intense. I am very intense, but I don't shy away from that. I own it. However, and when we bring people into our companies, and or whether I'm coaching, like call it high school football, I let our kids know that you're going to find I'm pretty intense, but I love you, right? So it's not a surprise when they get faced with that kind of intensity. They're aware of it, and it's something I'm okay with, right? So, there's a great saying, I think it's an AA quote, which is, we're as sick as our secrets, right? Let's take those secrets and turn them into our greatest potential strengths, right? And not hide from ourselves. I mean, one of the other greatest gifts, people ask me, like, why does my current marriage work really well? There's a lot of factors, but one of the things is my wife is incredible at allowing me to be myself, right? The greatest gift is to allow people to be themselves, to be able to operate at their best self, right? That doesn't mean you're not stretching and growing and all those sorts of things. However, it means, like we all have fears, we all have insecurities, we all have flaws at the end of the day. At the end of the day, though, we all have a core set of things that are our best self, our creativity. There's neuroticism that most people have. There's fears, there's doubts, etc. And being able to own those, live to those, and then build off of those for greater confidence and production and making a difference in the world, having a bigger impact, having the ability to go out and contribute to others, right? So what are the takeaways from today's session, today's segment, if you will? Number one is there's three main coaching styles according to the article from Martens, which is you've got the command style, like a dictator, right? Which again, you're going to see in the world that most people operate from that place. Parents, coaches in sports, and even CEOs, right? Then you've got the babysitter. Now, these people usually get run over. They usually fade out of business. They fail typically in business. They also typically will find themselves in a place where they're abdicating a lot. Their kids overrun their household and all these sorts of things, right? So that's the second style, right? And I wouldn't recommend that style. However, it is something that you see out there and it is prevalent. And then the third style, especially for someone trying to find themselves or, get comfortable in their own skin, they have a tendency to try to be somebody they're not, right? The third style is the cooperative style. Like, wouldn't we all love to be just fully cooperative in the world and also at a place where we are, just easy to get along with and collaborative and all these sorts of things. At the end of the day, right? Like, we've got a choice to make. And what I found is that I believe that the best leaders, they have these handful of core ingredients, right? They are very clear on where they're going, and then they get their teams, right, to come on board to go where they're going and then allow it to evolve. There's a great book from years ago. You can go look it up on Amazon. It's, The Spider and the Starfish, right? Or maybe it's called The Starfish and the Spider. And it's essentially, do you realize that if you can picture this, right? If you take a spider and you cut its head off or cut its leg off, maybe you've done that, or even just step on it, pop, and you squish it. What does it do? It dies, right? It dies. Body part off. On the other hand, a starfish, if you've ever seen one kind of float up off the ocean, right, on the beach or whatever, and you get a starfish and you cut a leg off of a starfish, it actually will grow back, right? So it's not reliant on a central organism, right, which is the whole point, right, of if you do this right, if you set the stage to build your playbook for your family, your kids, your company, if you're a coach in sports, if you cast a vision, you have a style, your philosophy, right? You have core values that they can live and own up into, and then people feel like they're able to collaborate and contribute. So if you look at someone like Mike Krzyzewski of Duke, right? Or, there are so many examples, Tom Izzo at Michigan State, or you look at, some of the best football coaches, Nick Saban, for example, or you look at someone like Jim Harbaugh or, his brother. Here's an example. I remember, seeing a game not too long ago with, the quarterback and Coach Harbaugh. And there was a situation that pops in my head that really, I think, connects to this. it was 4th down and like 3. And so Coach Harbaugh went to his quarterback, Lamar Jackson at the time, and they're in the heat of battle, right? And by the way, there's a time to be a warrior, right? You can be a peacetime warrior / CEO, peacetime CEO, or you can be a wartime CEO. And in our life, we have that. That's where the blending of, call it command style, along with collaborative style type, or coaching, mentoring, leading, parenting comes into place, right? And so Coach Harbaugh, what does he do? He goes to Lamar Jackson, and it's 4th down and 3, and they're in the heat of a real battle. And he goes, hey, man, what do you think we should do? You think we should go for it? Now, if your quarterback comes to you and goes, no, I feel like they're stuffing us. I don't think we got a shot. I don't think we got a chance. What would you do? Would you go for it? No. Or if you see some hesitation or you see some hesitancy, would you go? No, you wouldn't go for it in that case, would you? Of course not. And on the other hand, in this particular case, Lamar, of course, Coach Harbaugh, he says, yeah, let's go for it, coach. And they got the 1st down, and then they ended up scoring a touchdown on that drive. So cooperative style is about facilitating. It's about asking the right questions. It's about, if you were me and I were you, what would you do? Right? I like to think that when I'm on the field with our team as a coach in sports, because I have a responsibility with our quarterbacks and offense and stuff like that, typically I like to ask questions, but we'll ask that of the offensive line, like a question, what did you see out there? How did you view it? Tell me about the thinking behind your thinking, right? Which becomes such a valuable thing to get people's perspectives. If people, plan the fight, they won't fight the plan. I first heard that from Joe Polish, which, is, I forget who to give the original credit to on that. But if they plan the fight, they won't fight the plan, right? What if you worked really hard and you built your playbook, number one, you adapted the cooperative style? How would that shift the game for you as a parent, as a coach if you're in sports, or as a CEO running your version of an empire, right? Whatever that empire is, right? So I challenge you. Think big. I challenge you to cast your vision. I challenge you to really get clarity on your current state of affairs, your current state of the union right now, and identify your philosophy, your way of mentoring, guiding, focusing, and leading, right? And coaching. And then also do the same thing. What are your core values as a family unit, as a business unit? If you're running a sports team, what are your values? And then lastly, what is your leadership style that they should be aware of, right? Speak to the elephant in the room. So anyway, ideally, this segment serves you greatly. If you want to go deeper with any of these strategies, right, and you want to see how we could work with you to help you, get new clients, to be able to grow 3 to 10x, right, to be able to get free from the day-to-day, whether that's, getting free from the day-to-day so you can focus on some of the other areas that are your sweet spot in your genius zone as a founder, creator, et cetera, great. If you're looking to exit the day-to-day because you want to sell your business at some point soon, or you want to set the stage to go public, we've helped all types, right? If you'd like to learn more, there's likely a link on the page somewhere. I don't know if it's above me. I don't know if it's right or left or down, but another way you can go to breakthroughstrategycall.com, set up a conversation with one of our specialists. They can help identify where you are as a business. Where do you want to go? We'll do a full 360 review of you, your competition, some other things, help you identify what are some of the roadblocks holding you back from being able to grow exponentially with a lot less stress, right? We'd love to help you do that to get clarity. And then we can give you some options, and you can either apply it all on your own, or we can help you, right? We can help you. And we've got a very solid track record where we work with about 12 to 15 private clients at a given time. So if you'd like to take us up on that strategy session, go to breakthroughstrategycall.com. That's breakthroughstrategycall.com. Or if you know of somebody who is a top talent, who would like to be a part of a special culture, who would like to have an ability to be challenged every day, to grow, and they love collaborating, and they love the idea of what we're talking about, and they'd like to be a part of that, There's also a link on the page to look us up and see if we have an opportunity for you in one of the different many roles, as we're always looking for new talent, looking to expand and mostly expand as a team, but also expand our impact, contribution, and a whole lot more. So those links are on the page somewhere. I encourage you, take action with what we've shared with you. Don't just let this be another one of those things that you hear it and don't do anything. Without action, nothing happens. If you do nothing, you'll get nothing, right? So apply the concepts of, casting your vision, getting clarity around your philosophy, your style, your values, and a whole lot more. So take action, apply what we've shared with you, and just think of the difference this will make for you as a parent, as a CEO, as a leader, right? And or a sports coach too. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time on another segment of our show. That's all for now. Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of growthtofreedom.com. Are you struggling to get a steady flow of new clients every day? Or maybe hit a plateau or hit a wall in growing your business? Well, let's help you solve this problem today. Let's review your business and have a conversation. You can do that for free today at breakthroughstrategycall.com. That's breakthroughstrategycall.com. In addition, if you're looking for a simple way to implement some of what we've been talking about in today's episode, then I want to encourage you to get our free small business toolkit. You can get that at activate.breakthrough3x.com. That's activate.breakthrough3x.com. If you'd like access to the special resources and all the show notes for this special episode, make sure to visit growthtofreedom.com.